Hello, guys. Thank you for tuning in. This is Modasser from the 100K Journey podcast, and I have a special guest today, Andy. How's it going, Andy?
It's good, thanks, Marcel. We're in different parts of the world, and it's good. I'm living in southern Spain. The weather's getting better, and
How's it? How's it for you? How was your weekend, man?
weekend was good. Always busy.
You don't
Yeah, I
take the
live
weekends
just.
off?
Oh yeah, I don't work weekends.
Mm,
I don't work many afternoons. No, I chilled out. We live up in the mountains, and just
uh-huh.
down the mountain in an
That's a good
old
way.
dry riverbed, there was a bar with some live blues music. So we chilled out there all day on Saturday, which was good.
Had some fun yourself, yeah, with the family. That's a good way to put it. So, can you tell the audience a little background on who you are and what you've been doing lately?
Lately is a good question. For the last 13 years, as with the background as a business coach, working with business owners to build and sell businesses, I morphed into LinkedIn. And what I have is something that I know is unique because I've got some top people in the world telling me LinkedIn is awesome, but there's so many facets of it that no one really is pulling it all together. So, key part of my focus is making connections for people and then engaging with them to get whatever they want, whether it's
Mm.
usually for most people, it's a sales call. For some people, it's pointing them to the website and getting downloads so they can follow it up at their end. But then I have a unique way of driving attendees to webinars. And I've also got nearly 20 years of coaching people through selling from stage. In the
20
old
years.
days, that
Wow.
seminar, now it's webinars. But then we also have another unique way of getting thousands of views of people's posts. And I've got an incredible development team. So we've got technology that does that. So when you add getting thousands of views of your posts and learning how to write content that works, that's people's biggest problem. With
Copywriting.
how to engage and message people in the right way, because that's their biggest problem. With webinars, there's just nobody else putting that together.
It's a
So
combination of many things that put in together. What do you say?
yeah, it is. For me, it's
Nice.
about helping people get sales through LinkedIn in essence, and especially webinars, because lots of people are doing it and lots of people, they're like sales messages. They're not good at it, are they? People don't know how to sell or market effectively.
No, they don't. I think that's pretty interesting for the audience because a lot of the audience didn't start the business yet and they're trying to do social media marketing agency or they're trying to get the first client. Would you say it's a good way to get the first client through LinkedIn, or how would it work for someone starting?
Yeah. I mean, if you're business to business or business to professional, if you're business to consumer, I don't know, you're selling watches online, then there's other channels. But LinkedIn is just magic. Trying to grow a business
Mm.
organically is hard work for people. When I set up my coaching business, I was back then there was the yellow pages. I'd pick up the phone and ring people and try and get sales
Cold calling,
appointments,
yeah.
cold
That's tough.
calling. And it still works for some people, but I haven't done a cold call for 13 years since I got into LinkedIn because you've got much more opportunity to give value to your prospect and
Mm.
then really ask them if they want to engage. So, yeah, everyone should be on LinkedIn. Most people are now. There's nearly 1 billion people around the world. I was based in the UK and most of my business is in the UK. Oh, no, I have business in India, South Africa, the USA, Dubai, Australia, but a lot of clients in the UK. And there's over 20 odd million personal profiles in the UK.
The beauty of the internet, I guess.
Learning how to do it properly. Most people go into business because they've got something they think they can sell, but they
Mm.
don't go into business to learn how to market and sell. And there's a fear of social media. I separate LinkedIn from the word social media, but it's online. But it's really about this learning how to market and sell.
Mhm.
And the challenge now is there's so many different ways because of all the social media. 20 years ago, there was none. It was all other traditional ways of
Organic
marketing.
ways of doing it.
Yeah.
Would you say LinkedIn is not social media? Is it professional media?
Well, it is social selling. It is
Mm.
social, isn't it? Because
It
we
is,
fundamentally,
yeah.
I think sales can be simple. You've got to create engagement, and
Mm.
it is about creating a relationship. Yes, you can automate stuff. Yes, you can email, but it's still about what you say and how you say it.
Mm.
Um,
Definitely.
yeah,
It's
but the challenge for people setting up, that's what you asked, is where do they start? And I would say pick a lane, pick something, probably
mm.
pick a few. And for most people, LinkedIn is as good a start as any. But
They
it
need
depends
to
what you're doing.
get the profile on point, try to
Yeah,
Anybody
I've got
what
a
they do.
free Facebook group. I forgot what it's called now. It might be just called LinkedIn Mastery with Andy or something.
We can
And
put
there's
the
a
link
load
of
of
it on the
content.
description or something.
Yeah, I'll try and find it. There's if you search, yeah, link, and I'm sure it says LinkedIn Mastery with Andy. It's a free Facebook group where I've got a lot of content in there on. Yes, you got to get your profile right,
Add the
but the
link to
big thing
Facebook group
for
in the
that is
description.
yeah. You want me to? Yeah.
That's a
The
good
big thing
way to put
is
it.
how to engage with people. Also, if they search me on YouTube, I've put a load of videos up there on how to get your profile right, how to connect with people, how to engage with people.
You know, I believe I always tell my students that you need to be creating content even if you're not an expert yet. Like document the journey where you're trying to be an expert or you're trying to be professional. And once you make it, people will look back and see the old videos where you were trying your best to keep doing it, to keep trying to get a client, to keep trying to get better Facebook ads or whatever it is you're doing. And it's mandatory because today short form is king. And if you create short form content, everyone watch you because they don't waste so much time. It's 15 to 30 seconds, 1 minute max. People watch it. And I think just in your game, LinkedIn, have a good LinkedIn profile, try to automate messages. How would you say that works? Like messaging people. What's the sauce behind it?
That's the source behind it. Okay. And I think you've touched on something. You work differently than I do. You're talking
Mm-hmm.
about short form and content out there and people see it. And that works. And I'm not dissing that in that my style and my background before I went into business was I was a salesman. So it was knock on doors or pick up the phone and say, do you want to talk? And I think both works because I've just had a call with a guy today that's going to be a great client. And he said, so and so recommended you.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I'm connected with so and so, but we've never really engaged. He said, no, he's just been looking at your stuff. He knows of you. He knows what you're putting out there and he thinks you're great. And I had someone book a call a while ago and I said, we're not connected. You're not in my database. How come? He said, I've seen your posts for the last 3 months now. I need help. I said, but you've never engaged. You've never liked anything, commented on it, shared. He said, no, I don't do that. I'm just looking for the information I need. And when I'm ready, I'll reach out, which is where what you're talking about absolutely works. So yes, that works for me. But I think the 80% of for me is connecting with people and messaging my existing connections. And most people, your average CEO has about 1,000 connections on LinkedIn. If each of those connections have 1,000 connections, you're into 1 million second tier connections. Most, it's staggering. But most people,
That's a
if
good
you've
way
got
to
a
put it.
thousand,
That's a good way to put it. I like it.
if you've got 1,000 connections and I ask you, how do you engage with those? Most people go, well, I don't. I push the odd post out. Whereas we can automate that. We can search for them. We can go and be messaging them every day. So you said, what's the secret sauce? The secret sauce is knowing what to say and give value to the reader.
Mm-hmm.
Because I radically changed what we were doing at COVID because I would be sending out a bit like emails. I'd connect with someone. I'd send them a message. Hey, this is what I do. Are you interested in talking about how you can achieve X, Y, Z? And that worked. But at COVID, we saw a massive bombardment of people. Everyone went online. You know, my brother's a big commercial property lawyer. He said, I'm thinking of coming off. I'm just getting hit by crappy sales messages. I said, don't come off LinkedIn. You should be building your network for life anyway.
Yeah.
My nephew, when he was younger, in between college and uni, he got an internship in Hong Kong through someone he met on LinkedIn at the age of 21 or whatever he was.
Wow.
So you should be growing your network on LinkedIn anyway.
That's a good way.
But actually, it's about how you message people. So now I'll message people and I'll say, hey, great to connect, or thought I'd message you. We're connected. By the way, here's something I put together that I share with my other clients. Here's an article I've written on how you can save
You're
money.
giving value. You're giving value.
Have a better life. Give value.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go, I just love to know your thoughts. And then I might send another message saying, what did you think of the article I sent you above, or the PDF or the video or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, here's something else. And I might do that 3 times. And then all I'm doing is waiting for people to respond.
Would you say you're treating it as email marketing or something like it, close by to email marketing, or is it
direct messaging is one big part of LinkedIn, but posts is another part. And most people don't know how to write posts that get engagement. So I think the secret sauce is giving
I like
value.
this. I really like this. It's useful for people starting out, especially. Like you send someone free value and then you ask them, what do you think about that free value? Even if they don't respond, you can follow up with another message and someone will respond from the 500 connections that you have. You might have a chance to get a client. You might have a chance to build a business with them. Wow. That's pretty smart. Would you say, coming from a background of sales, does that give you advantage when it comes to doing this on LinkedIn?
Yeah. You've got to learn to market and sell. I
Mm.
remember running a training day with a bunch of sales guys, and I said, okay, what do you want to know about LinkedIn? They said, well, we're getting connections, but then we don't know what to say. I said, you're kidding me. What would you say if you'd emailed someone, or you knocked on their door, or you rang them, or you met them in the pub or a networking event? It's the same. But you've got to learn how to when I say sell, people struggle with the word
I see where
selling.
you're going. I like that.
If someone responds back with, here's something you should be doing on LinkedIn.
Uh-huh.
Connecting with everyone who views your profile. Now, again, most people don't have the time to do it. You can't do it. We can automate that. But
That's a good.
I will connect with them, and I will say, hey, you viewed my profile recently. What made you do that? And how can I help? Now, LinkedIn is brilliant at just chucking suggestions at you. Most people are just viewing your profile because they're surfing or wandering around and they haven't got a strategy. But I only want the one person who says, well, I looked at your profile because I'm looking at how I can get more website customers through LinkedIn. Perfect. Do you want to chat about that? It's knowing how to respond to people.
And going from there, like it's just like you said, sending value to people, and then asking them what do you think about the value of the list. But you go follow up with them. You connect to everyone who views your profile. You try your best to, I would say, get a bigger network, if you will, like get bigger, get more to know more people. And then, like, what I always do is, if I go with someone who's interested in my service, and we might not be able to get, like, we're not good doing business together, I'd be like, hey, do you know someone that needs this? And every single time they do, every single time. And people just don't want to do that. They think it's weak. They think it's not, no, it's fine, man. You're adding value to the people's life. Why not ask them, hey, do you know someone that does this? Do you know someone that need my LinkedIn automation service? Do you need someone that needs someone to do this for them? And then it always happens. So let's talk about coaching, Andy. How did you start coaching people to do business? How did you come up with that?
How did I come into that?
Mm.
I was employed as a sales manager, branch sales manager, and I was always interested in how I can get my sales team to perform better. And I knew that people don't like being told what to do. I never liked it, still didn't like it from my
No one
father
does.
or whoever. And so I studied performance coaching at the Open University. No, it wasn't Open University. It was an online university course.
Mm.
And it was about how I can coach my sales team. But then I came across an advert 20 years ago to buy into a franchise with an awesome organization called Action Coach, which is a global business coaching franchise founded by an incredible entrepreneur called Brad Sugars, who's an Australian now based in Vegas. And I bought into it because it was about set up your own business to become a business coach to help business owners grow. And I've got a lot of background in running smaller businesses, privately owned businesses. And from there, I just learned a big emphasis on that was obviously how to sell, because you've got to sell high-end coaching services, but also you're going to have to work with your clients on that. But it was also all around it. And to be honest, it's also hard work, because what I used to say to people was, I can teach you how to put a sales script in place to make a cold call to sell. But if you've got a fear of rejection, you're never going to use that script. So
if you can't communicate it, you can't use it.
80% of my work was around coaching people through what's going on here. Because what is it that stops someone following a script or putting a system in place, or it's their internal mindset. So for me, that was the passion, but it was also hard work. What I've learned I'm about is about creating results and getting results, which is where LinkedIn is just beautiful, which is why I niched into LinkedIn 13 years ago. But you can't help but coach someone, because I've just had a guy, they're going, we're running webinars, you're driving attendees for us, it's great. And I said, yeah, but I've just watched your webinar and there's so many more ways you can generate sales from your webinar. So let me coach you through that.
So I would say to make it sound easier for the people listening, would you say it's more, if you can't communicate what skill sets you have, you can't do anything. Like if you have the scripts and if you have the sales video, if you have everything, if you have the good webinar, but you can't communicate it, you're not confident, you don't have the mindset, does that make a difference?
Yeah, of course it does. There's so many quotes going through my head. You mentioned something about helping people earlier. Let me just chuck this on at the audience. Zig Ziglar, he's still alive, but famous global sales guy, said, I can get anything I want in my life if I help enough people get what they want. That was going back to that.
Wow. I like this one. So you
But
can have
then
anything if you give people value and if you give people everything.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
I think the thing with sales is I had a big argument when I bought into the business with my franchisor because he said, you've got to be able to sell. I said, I can do that. I've knocked doors for years. I can sell.
Mhm.
Tell me I'm going to learn how to coach. That's what I'm passionate about. Yeah. We'll teach you all that, but you got to know how to sell. You got to learn to sell. And I thought I could sell, and I could, but what they taught me was even more. And it's an ongoing study.
Mhm.
Um, there's a great story by Alan Pease, who wrote a brilliant book. I know him, called Questions Are the Answers. And it was aimed at network marketers, but it's so relevant. It's 5 key questions. But he tells a story that as a kid, he was an insurance salesman knocking on house doors.
Mhm.
His script when someone answered the door was, I don't suppose you want to buy any insurance, do you? Which is the most worst possible thing you could say, isn't it? What are people likely to say? Oh. But at the end of the day, he made one more call before going home. And someone opened the door and
Oh,
he said, don't suppose you want to buy any insurance, do you? And they went, you couldn't have timed this better. Come on in. And on the lounge table was all insurance documents and marketing literature. And he made the sale, which goes to say it doesn't matter how bad your delivery is. And I remember working with a guy, coaching him through his web seminars. And
mhm.
he was an ex-engineer. He was very clinical, very logical, very introvert. It was the worst presentation I'd ever seen. He made a sale because his content was good.
Mhm.
So yes, you can still make sales if you keep knocking doors or keep doing it, no matter how bad you are. But you want to get better and better at
You want to get better results
how to
without
communicate. It's all
doing
about how to
all the hard work.
communicate. Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think I always tell people, like I always tell my students, like if you can't communicate that you got what you're good at, what are you good at? Like I don't know, like you can't, if you can't tell me that you're good at something, I can't know. Even if you have the best results ever, if you're the best media buyer, the best one who does Facebook ads for anyone, I don't know that. If you can't get on a Zoom call with me and be confident and not be desperate about the client and not be trying to stick from me, but just you trying to give and give value, I would be like, yeah, okay, let's work together, man. You seem like a good person. I would love to work with you. And if you can't initiate that in the conversation, you can't do anything. You can't do business. Coming from that story, it's real. Like, yeah, you might close one client from 100 people, and then, but if you have good communication skills, you won't be able to handle all the clients anyway. Like you would have just too many clients.
Is some more secret sauce, I think. And here's the biggest challenge for human beings because we like to talk about ourselves. That's why you
Yeah.
run the podcast. That's why I'm on it now. But the biggest thing is it's about WIFM. What's in it for me? It's a marketing acronym that stands
Mm.
for what's in it for me. You have
Yeah, I
to
know.
put yourself in the shoes of the reader and ask yourself what's in it for me. I've changed that. I've called it WIFT. What's in it for them? I can't be
Mm.
bothered to come into your shoes and think what's important to you. I can sit here and go, what's important to them? But the point is, you've got to talk and ask them about what's important to them. What are they in pain about? What do they want to achieve? What's not happening? What's it costing them? What would it look like? It's all about them. Nobody cares about you. You know, you said,
That's
tell me
so
a bit about.
real. That's so real. Back in the day, I had a public speaking event with TikTok, and my starting speech was, "No one cares about you." And then I went silent for 30 seconds. Everyone was shocked. Everyone was like, What is he saying? Oh my god!" And I was like, because the topic was stop caring what other people think, and I thought, how can I take everyone's attention in the first seconds? So I was like, "No one cares about you," I just went completely silent for 30 seconds. Everyone was like, "Wow, what is he saying?" So everyone got I got the attention. I was like, no one cares about you. You think you stop by a traffic light, and everyone is looking at you. You think that you're running in the street and everyone is looking at you. Well, everyone is selfish just like you are. Because every time you finish a sentence, when you tell people something, like you're like, hey, I went to the gym the other day. Once you finish this story, the other person's talking to you would be like, you know what? I went to the gym, and he will tell you a story so that you guys can relate. And what people don't understand is people want you to listen to them. And if you simply be like, oh my God, what happened in the gym, instead of telling them a story from you, you would just find other people interested in you. Because I can't remember who said this, but if to be interesting, you have to be interested.
It was Dale Carnegie in the book How to Win Friends and
Yeah.
Influence People.
Yeah,
And as
David.
you were
Yeah,
talking,
exactly.
as you were talking, I was going to quote it because we're both doing it now. We're
Mm.
both thinking about what we want to say next. And you're absolutely right. And you just hit on some secret sauce because when you said no one cares about you and you went quiet for 30 seconds, that's the headline. You said, I have to hit them with something in the first few seconds to grab their attention. So what you have to do in your emails, your direct marketing, your LinkedIn messages, your social media, your videos, your yada, yada, yada. And that's what people struggle with. Secondly, is absolutely certainly in the sales meeting, be interested in them. It's all about them. Then you can suggest how you can solve their problems and how you can help them. But people just want the amount of technical people on LinkedIn who have got the initials, letters after their name on their name in LinkedIn. And I said, look, if I put Andy Gwynn, MBA, MISM, CRAP, nobody would know, nobody would care, nobody reads it. Put it in the,
No one would read
put
it
it in
anyway.
the education section, but tell people what you can do for them. Tell people what they will get from engaging with you. Don't tell them, nobody cares. Nobody cares whether I've got 20. You did say, wow, 20 years, but I'm older than you. Nobody cares I've got 20 years experience. What does that mean? Here's the thing. If you're going to make a statement, I've got to explain, critique everything you write.
What
I
was always going to get? What was always
I
going to get?
critique it with two questions. Number one is, so what? I have 20 years experience. So what? I can teach people how to generate more sales, get more webinar attendees and more webinar sales through their LinkedIn. That's better. So ask yourself when you make a statement, so what? Second way is, in what way? I help people get more sales. In what way? By helping them utilize LinkedIn to get more attendees to their sales and produce world-class webinars. So people make a statement. Two things. One is they tell them about themselves. I've got 20 years experience. I had a client. I've got 20 years, 40 years experience in this industry. And I went, I don't care. Can you teach me how to do X? Can you save me money? Can you get me a better sex life? Can you save me time? What is it? Tell me what you do for me. I don't care about.
How can you fix my pain? How can you fix my pain? Yeah. There's full human needs, and if you can click on them, you can get anything. Like literally, as long as you meet them, as long as you provide it, you're good. What would you say is the most painful thing you've met with a client? Like you've seen a client and he had so much pain. In what need would you say?
What, with the client or the
Yeah.
pain that they had?
I think with a client, I want to know how you would structure that as a coach, because I think it's tough.
I don't know. I think a lot of people. If you ask me what's the one thing you could do to be more successful, I'll go be brutally honest with yourself. I think most people are not, so they're not even thinking of the pain. So as a coach, I've had to take them through the pain. I remember talking to
realize it. Would you realize the pain?
I think people deny it. I think people stop. They don't really stop to think about it. So I remember years ago having a call with a guy who ran an engineering firm. So I'm saying to him on the phone, you know, how long have you been running the business? What's the business look like? How many people? What do you sell? Who do you sell to? What sort of turnover are you doing? So if you've got a factory in these people, what sort of gross profit are you doing? What's got a net profit? So how much do you pay yourself? And he told me, I went, it was about 18 grand back then. I said, so you've been running this business for, well, I can't remember the numbers, 18 years and you're making 30 grand. He said, yeah.
30 grand a year?
Yeah, nothing,
Wow.
nada.
That's so
I said, how do you, here's the question, because you asked him, I said, how do you feel about that? And his words, I know you're recording this, his words were, shit, really, isn't it? I said, if you say so. Now, do you want to do something about it? How committed are you? One of the things I was taught was dig for people's pain. When you get them to associate with the pain, people will move away from pain. And then but I remember leaving someone almost in tears, and I walked out of the office and I told my coach about it. And she said, you've left them in a corner in tears. You haven't given them any solution on how they can put the Band-Aid on and the bandage on.
They can fix it.
But you got to do both, man. Don't leave them in a corner dying and crying. I think a lot of new and smaller business owners, I think they're in pain because they're not making any money. And
when you say money, when you say money is the motivation for them, is that wrong or is that correct?
Modasser, I think you've got to ask them. I think there's so many different motivations. I've got a client now who says it's all about the money, but it's not about the money. He's financially free. He's got $1 million in the bank.
He already has his financial freedom, and he's looking for money.
But he's working 70 hours a week and not seeing his family. It's not about the money, but he says it's about the money. He wants to make more sales, more profit.
He doesn't know.
You've got to ask people what motivates them. I remember I did study management at the Open University, and one of the tasks was to go and interview your team. So I interviewed my sales team, my sales reps. What motivates you the most about coming to work? What else? Good questions. I don't think I had 5 sales reps locally. We had 20 around the country. I don't think any of them said money number one, which surprised me because for me, it was all about the money I wanted to make. It was number one. I knew the commissions I'd earn every month. I knew what it was. But I got how the business owner treats me, how you as my manager treats me, the relationship I have with my clients. Oh, and by the way, I've got to make enough money to pay the mortgage. And these were salespeople. So it's different answers for different people. You've got to ask them.
Yeah, definitely. What would you say motivates you personally?
Me,
Yeah.
I always say from 16, I never wanted to work, but I didn't know what that meant. What I meant was I didn't want to
From
have to go to work.
2016, or do you mean when you're 16 years old?
Oh, when I was 16,
Uh-huh.
man, 1983.
Mm-hmm.
My mum used to sit on the end of my bed on a Saturday morning with a cup of tea, and I'd go, I was packing gloves in a warehouse. I didn't want to do that forever. I just couldn't see me doing. Then when I was a salesman, then when I was a manager, and I realized I want financial freedom. My father was a doctor, my mother's a nurse. She couldn't understand. I said, I want to retire. So what do you mean? What would you do? I said, no. I didn't say I'll stop doing stuff. I want to financially retire.
Mm-hmm.
So I can choose when you invite me to this, I can go, yeah, it'd be fun. But sharing some good stuff with people. But that's not, I don't have to get up every morning and make money.
What would you
Because
say?
then time. So what motivates me is
Mm-hmm.
traveling, spending time with friends and family. You asked me what I did at the weekend. We had a live concert with live blues music, one of the best guys in Spain, drinking beer and eating barbecue with friends. I've got a 12-day
Having
motorcycle
fun.
trip around Spain and Portugal next month. And it's that stuff. I can only do that if I buy myself time. And that's by creating passive revenue. My
Mm-hmm.
father, as a doctor, retired and got a pension. And I said to my mum, my business, my property investing, my stock market investing, my business investing, it's just pensions. When I get to a point, I don't touch my property investing, my development in Portugal, my stock market, my crypto. Someone manages that for me. I have to work in my business right now, but less and less because it's recurring.
It's
We have
going.
two
Yeah.
membership groups. Great business model. You know, I
Yeah.
said, how you can get thousands of views of your posts? It's a club. People pay me every month. I don't really have to touch it. I've got a few team and it's automated. We have another business growth club. It's a membership. That's a great business model for recurring revenue, which is
It's a
not
smart
passive,
way to
but
do it.
highly leveraged.
It's a smart way to put it. How would you say? What's the difference between you now, your mindset now, and your mindset when you were, I would say, a manager? I wouldn't go back to 16, but I want to go back to the manager, being a manager, having a job, being safe, having a monthly profit that you know that will come anyway. And you now, what would you say is the difference?
Hey, man, that's the 20-year long answer. I thought you were going to ask now compared to a few months ago. I'll give you both. I was sort of never safe. If you study with Tony Robbins and his 6 human needs, there's 2 needs, one of certainty, one of uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
For me, there was always a level of uncertainty because I was on commissions for 20 years as a salesman and a sales manager. But I remember a sales rep saying, no, she just wanted a fixed income. I said, but you're a salesperson. She said, I want the certainty of mortgage and outgoings or incomings. And I couldn't get my head around that. So that wasn't an issue for me back then. I think what's the difference between me now and back then is just a massive mindset and belief around who I am and what I want to do. Better question would be, what's the difference between me now and a few years ago? And that's being more and more in the moment about appreciating what I've got.
Being present.
People talk about goal setting, but there's a great phrase that says, set the intention, that's the goal, but let go of the attention. Because if my attention is purely on got to make the sales call, got to make the sales call, got to make the sales call,
You won't make
then
it.
I'm chasing the money. And when you chase something, it doesn't come. When you let it go, you still got to do the action. When you let it go, it
Attacks
comes.
you.
And also the biggest thing I think for a lot of business owners and successful people is we're driven. So back to my client with $1 million in the bank, says he wants 10 million. I go, why? You're financially free. If you've ever read the book Acres of Diamonds or Understand the Fable, you know, I'm saying it's out there. There's the door. I've got a door that's closed there. And if I open it, it's got an iron door with a lock. If I open that, I've got the valley to the sea, over to Africa, to the world. It's there. And it's recognizing what you've already got, because I would be chasing it. I would never be happy. I need more. I need more sales. I need more money. I need more of this. Actually, when I started to let go of the need, the attention, still set the attention, still set the goals and the plan, stuff came in.
I don't know. Touching up on what you said, which is I totally agree with. Do you know Naval Ravikant is a great writer? This guy had the book, and he was talking about one thing, which is happiness. And he said, if you're living in the future or if you're living in the past, you're not happy. Like a happy person only wants one, a sick person only wants one thing, which is to be good, to be okay. And the happy person wants a million things. And once you take the difference between these and understand that, to be here, be present, enjoy having this podcast, and don't think about the next meeting. Don't think about the past. Don't think about regretting. Wait, I fucked up on the sales thing, or I did that, or I did that. Focus here, and you'll be happy. Touching up on what you said, it makes a lot of sense, to be honest, because people live so much in anxiety. How am I gonna do the next exam? How am I gonna do this or that? Just like you said, and they regret everything from the past. They're like, and even in small things, like if I just said this to this, like for my generation, and guys DM me on Instagram, be like, if I told her this, she could have been my girlfriend. I'm like, no, man, she couldn't have been your girlfriend because you're chasing things never come. If you keep chasing, you never get anywhere. Would you say how could you attract anything in life, if from your opinion? That's interesting.
How can I attract anything in life? Oh, well, if you
Money,
explore
status,
well, I
life.
think I've given one answer. You set the intent, the attention. Sorry, you set the intention, but let go of the attention.
Uh-huh.
Great book by Hal
I
Elrod
like
called
this one.
The Miracle Morning.
Mm.
And part of that is about silence as well as visualization. Yeah,
Wow.
if for people who want that, for people who want that answer that are listening, just learn and study and understand more about the law of attraction.
Yeah. Do you believe in it? You
Yeah,
believe
you're
it
right.
just
People
works?
chase it and listen to what you say to yourself.
Mm.
Because people go, I want more money. What does that tell you? In
Why
order
do you
to
want more
want,
money?
in order to want something,
Mm.
I have to be in a state where I haven't got it. Because if I'd got it, I wouldn't say I want it. I'd say I have it. So the moment I say I want something means I've got to be in a state of not having it. So you'll never get it.
Mm.
So you've got to choose. I used to have a client who set all of his goals in the absolute, well, I don't, and still does, and I do in the present. Or I will make $1 million by the 31st of December. I am moving towards every day making $1 million or whatever the goal is.
It's a
But
learning
let go.
experience.
Yeah.
It's
Be
a
in the
learning
present. You're
experience.
absolutely right. You can't change the past. You can't do
No.
anything about the future unless you do something now. And if you decide to put a marketing plan together, go do it now and be in that moment. You're right. Be in the moment of what you're doing right now.
Be present. What would you say is the best advice you've got?
Be absolutely brutally and honest with yourself.
Mm.
Because when people go, I don't want to do that, why not? No, I don't know. No, why do you really not want to do it? Why aren't you making it
Go
work
deep.
now? What are you
Going
resisting?
deep. Mm-hmm.
What are you avoiding? What do you need to admit that isn't working, that maybe isn't your strength? And here's another great thing I remember from 2 decades ago, my coach. In fact, two coaches. I
Mm.
remember I was in a room with a guy he was a coach, but he was an ex something like national power lifter in the US. And he took on a coach, and his coach said, what's the weakest part of your lift? He said, oh, my legs. I hate my legs. I can't train legs. And he said, learn to love what you hate. I want you to train legs every day. And he trained legs, and they became the strongest part of his lift, and he won a national championship. Now, my
Wow.
challenge is if somebody tells me something and it makes sense, I go, that makes sense. I'll run with that. So I was coaching my clients around what's your weakness? Let's fix your weakness. Let's fix your weakness. And years later, a coach of mine said, why don't you coach them to develop their strengths? And I just went, oh, that makes sense. Why would I try and push water up a hill, try and bang my head against a wall, try and force someone to do something that they're not best at, they don't like? But I've got a client at the moment where his weakness is management and team, but he won't recognize it. And he's got so much pain elsewhere. So the simple answer is be honest with yourself,
Mm.
brutally honest with yourself. Because people
Be
aren't. People
honest.
kid themselves, collude with themselves, lie to themselves.
Yeah, sadly, people do that all the time. I think people don't want to face reality because they just want to escape reality. They think, hey, if I face reality, I'm gonna be weak. I'm gonna be nothing, and then they don't want to be
And
that. They don't want to feel that way. So all they do
different
is,
people
I'm
think
good.
different people will think different things.
Yeah.
Now, while I do a lot with psychology and the unconscious mind, I've also got a friend who's a scientist,
Mm-hmm.
a medical scientist, and what she will say is the brain is wired to keep you safe and keep you alive. It's what it did when we were cavemen, fight or flight. But here's the challenge with it
I
is,
remember.
so I've
I
got a
remember
client at the
when
moment.
this.
I've got a client at the moment who's got a fear of loss, fear of bankruptcy, fear of running out of money. So guess what happens is, but he's not moving towards his goals big time. So what happens is he does something today, he doesn't go bankrupt. So tomorrow his brain's gone, you didn't go bust like yesterday, so we'll do the same as we did yesterday because you didn't go bust, so we won't go bust today. Your brain is not only it's wired to repeat itself, and it's wired to keep you alive. So the reality for him is he just keeps repeating the same thing. He's not moving, but he's not going bust. So his brain's going, you're safe, you're safe, you're safe. And it's an oxymoron. It's a dichotomy. And so if he was honest with himself,
he would have been facing that.
I'm just repeating what I'm doing, and that's not where I want to be. I've got to change something.
To be honest, it's kind of scary when especially when you fail at something.
Why?
I wouldn't say it's really like, from what I've seen, when in the failures phase, like, okay, so you might be successful and then you fail and then you come back to success again. Like, that's life. Like, life is a roller coaster. You have to go up and down. And when you're in this down state, all that happens is, should I quit? Should I not quit? Am I going to make it? Am I not going to make it? And then it feels like, what should you do? And to me personally, I kept going. Like, I failed multiple times. I had 3 companies. I lost one, but I kept going. Like, I felt so bad. I focused 100% on building it, and I didn't see any results for months. Like, I didn't see results. I didn't see money coming in. I didn't see people pleasing me. I didn't see followers. I didn't see nothing. I just like, hey, I'm built for this. I'm gonna do this somehow. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. And that's just put me into like the state where, like, well, you shouldn't quit, man. You shouldn't quit. Whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. Because if you keep doing it, just like the guy who did legs, you would just make it. You would just become good at it. You become great at it, actually.
Possibly. I think there's 2 ways of looking at things, because what if he'd have trained the other areas that he was better at? Would he have got there quicker? And there was a top entrepreneur who was interviewed, and they said, what would you do differently next time? He said, I'd learn to fail faster.
So they can
learn. What that tells me, yeah. And so we have a mantra, it's called test, measure, and adjust. You got to look at what you're doing. You can't improve something unless you measure it. You've got to test something, you've got to go do something, then you measure it. And then if it's not working, you've got to adjust. Because if you keep doing the same thing,
you're dumb.
So we had a business that was failing. And I said to Mary, my partner, I'm out of here. I'm doing some other stuff that's working for me. And she's passionate about her clients and giving value. And at one point she said, I've stopped flogging the dead horse. You've heard that saying in the UK. And I said, yes, but you still sat on the horse. It's dead. Get off it. So there's 2 things. So I think it's a balance, because you've also, yes, you have a belief that you could do what you do. So did I. So do I. I've nearly failed. I nearly went bankrupt for a couple of reasons. But I knew I was in the right space. I knew it was my calling. I knew didn't matter whether it's business coaching, life coaching, or LinkedIn, or marketing, or business. It's all within that space: speaking, property, personal development. I knew I was on the right road. Wasn't in the right lane, maybe, but I had this belief. So I knew that I was going to make it work. But I still had to stop and adjust, test, measure, and adjust. If that isn't quite the right thing, what is? Be open-minded to new opportunities. But again, everything's a balance. Be open-minded, but don't pick up every shiny penny, or pick it up, look at it, and put it down quickly. Be open-minded, not closed. But it's a balance.
How would you say, would you put that balance? How do you find the balance?
I think you've got to recognize your style. So I could pick up a shiny penny and run at the next best thing. I realized I was doing it because what I was doing wasn't working. So it's what next, what next, what next, what next. I realized that one. Here's the question to ask yourself. Is what I'm doing right now serving me best? Now, I realized that wasn't. I was going from one thing to another. So I created a rule that if something new comes along, I check in with Mary, my partner, at least, maybe 1 or 2 other people I value the most. So I will check in with her first. Give me your opinion. You look at it differently. And some I'd put down, some I'd continue to run with. So it's about recognizing your style. And some of your listeners, maybe, I don't know whether you remember this, when I was younger, your music stereos used to have what's called a graphic equalizer. You've got them in cars. You can change the bass, the treble, the medium, the whatever, the fade. And it's about a balance. If anything's too high, it's distorted. Anything too low, it's not clear. So it's about getting that balance with what you're doing and your style.
That's a good way. That's a good metaphor to put it. That's a good metaphor. I like it. Like if you just need to add in some, it's just like gaming. Like if you play a game, you have to add the strength of the character. You have to add some magic to him, some physical strength, some armor. So he has a combination of all these things, and then he can do something about it. Wow, I like the metaphor. That's a good one. What do you say is the worst advice that you've ever had? That's a good
Oh,
one.
wow. What a question. Worst advice
Hmm.
was when someone suggested I buy into a Ponzi scheme, but they didn't believe it was a Ponzi scheme. Um,
How would they convince you to do this?
I tell you the worst thing I think people can do, or one of the worst things,
Mhm.
is listen to pub mates. So I do a lot of work with property investors who are still employed or they got smaller businesses and they're learning to invest in property. Now, property is an interesting thing because in the UK, everybody's got property.
Mhm.
So if I mention it to my father or mate down the road, it's like arseholes. Everyone's got one. So it's opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got an opinion.
Mhm.
So I had a client who said, but my mate said he wouldn't do blah, blah. And I said, how many properties has your mate got? Well, he hasn't. Well, don't listen to him. If you're going to take advice, listen to someone who knows it or has done it or is trained in it.
As the place you're trying to go, at least.
Oh, I say don't talk to pub mates. Don't listen to pub mates. They'll tell
Yeah,
you, and especially property,
that's a
but they'll
good.
tell
That's a
you
good
what
one.
to do. They'll tell you what doesn't work, and yeah. So I think
Don't listen to
that
pub mates.
the worst advice is listening to the wrong advice. But you need someone around you. I think here's another challenge for business owners because I nearly got sued by 4 franchisees. We tried to franchise our business
Mhm.
6-7 years ago, and they're all failing. And the distinction I got with that, because I had to stop and go, what have I learned from this? Otherwise, I'll just do the same again. Remember,
Mhm.
what do I want going forward, and
Just
what
keep
don't
in
I
the
want
loop.
going forward?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're in the
So
loop of learning.
I had to stop and write down what do I want going forward and what don't I want.
Uh,
And I realized the distinction was they, like me, had pretty much succeeded in everything they'd done before. So I was a sales rep. I was one of the best sales reps in the country. I got promoted to management and we grew the business. I was a scuba diver. I became a diving instructor. I was a motorcyclist. I did my advanced motorcycling. I'd always succeeded like these guys had. Then I went into business. Then I hit brick walls where it didn't work. And
mhm.
it's a massive, massive smack to the ego. And I think these 4
That's a
people,
good way to put it, man. It's a master to the ego. Yeah, I
I
feel.
think these 4 people had hit a brick wall,
Mhm.
bigger brick wall than they'd ever done in their life, and maybe the first brick wall in their life because they just succeeded at stuff they'd done before, and they couldn't handle it. They couldn't cope with it, and they crashed. I got hit. I hit those brick walls, but I'd got this belief that I was in the
Mhm.
right road. I could make it work. So I think for the people going into business, I think be very mindful of that. And there's nothing wrong with it, but just be honest with yourself again. And it's about learning. Brad Sugars,
Mhm.
who founded Action Coach, has a great phrase. He said, if you want to out earn me, you have to outlearn me.
Mhm. You have to outlearn it, outwork me as well, because I put in more hours than you, and then you
Maybe
just
more
be
hours, but
destroyed.
hey, no. Let me. For years, right? I was brought up. My father was a doctor, came out of a
Mm.
mining village. My 2 uncles were school teachers and head teachers. It was always about are you going to university? Are you going to school? What are you
Yeah,
going to do? Guess
you
what?
need to become a doctor.
What most people are conditioned to do is work hard.
Yeah,
And
work smart.
that was a big screw up for me because I didn't remember I said to you I didn't want to work. I wanted to be financially free. But then I've got this argument here going, you've been brought up to work hard, do more hours, get paid more, do overtime, get paid more. Then I shifted it to I need to work smart, not hard. How do I leverage my time, my
Mm.
finance, my business, my people? So no, when Brad Sugar says you've got to outlearn me, doesn't mean you've got to do more hours.
You just need to outlearn him. You just need to. Would you
Learn
say
more.
work hard to learn more? Like work hard in learning more. Like put in more
No,
hours to learn.
work smart.
Work smart. It's
Damn, what have we got now? I mean,
yeah,
it's so easy now with
yeah,
technology.
it is.
I could have sat down and put a whole training program together, but I went on Chat GPT the other day and I got it done in 2 minutes.
ChatGPT is king,
Work
man.
smart. Right? Work smart. Work smart with your money. Work smart with your knowledge. Learn. Brad Sugars would say, did he read a book a day or for a year or a book a week? I can't remember. But yeah, you got to keep learning. because things change as well. But we've got to keep learning. And,
I believe,
let's go back to what you said at the beginning about you've got to communicate better. That's
yeah,
a never-ending journey
yeah, it
because
is.
human beings are so different that you've got to.
I don't think you can do anything without communication. Like I think that's you just go to a restaurant, you buy a coffee, you get anything in life, you just communicate. You have to talk. You have to be able to say what you think, and that's the way to put it. You can't do anything about it. So I would say we can end this with working smart and not hard, but trying to outlearn everyone around you in your competitive areas. Would you like
Well,
to
the more
say? Yeah, would you like to say anything before we end the podcast, Andy?
Yeah, I'm never going to outlearn everybody. I'm not looking to outlearn anybody. I'm
Uh,
looking to learn more to achieve what I really want to achieve and to work smarter. And yeah, so yeah, continually learn. Therefore, you've got to have an open mind.
mhm.
That fits in with the be totally honest with yourself. What's your patterns and behavior where that graphic equalizer is getting distorted? Because everything's got to, if we run too fast, I miss tricks. If I run too slow, I don't get there. If I'm too conscientious about what other people think, it'll be slow or I'll be the doormat. It's about a balance. Be brutally honest with yourself.
Be brutally honest, guys. Remember this. Be honest. Work smart, not hard. Use ChatGPT. Learn how to use the technology that you have, because I don't think it's the easiest time to make money in the world now. It is the easiest time to make money. It's the easiest time to make companies, to build companies, to build new things. So use that leverage. Thank you so much, Andy, for your time. Thank you for joining us today on the podcast. We really enjoyed this, and I hope that we talk again on episode 100 or something. This is episode 8. Thank you guys so much for listening. See you on the next episode. Let me close the recording.